You make it sound so easy. I'm like, wow. But I'm beginning to realize that
Other people's babies are different from you and your baby and your dynamic. So trust that.
so you're welcome, Jackie, to the I Am That Mom show, and I am thrilled to have you on here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, today we're talking about stepping into new identities as a new mom. Now, let me ask you, what has been the most surprising aspect of you transitioning, into your role as a mom?
Mm, that's funny. I think the one thing that comes to mind truly, I think, is that how effortless and committed you are to motherhood. And I say that like doing it while I'm sick, doing it while I'm tired, doing it when grief, doing it in no matter your mood, right? Not only if I'm feeling great or upbeat, but everything in between. And being surprised just how much you kind of go over and beyond for your children just to make sure that they're safe and well. So yeah, so I think just the lengths that I would go to make sure that they're always just doing okay.
Is this how you envisioned motherhood to be, or did it come up as like a surprise? Surprise!
And no, I mean honestly, if I could be quite honest, no, I mean honestly, I was a woman that's like, no, motherhood is like I'm okay. I love children. I've always worked with children. But I was like, here, give them back. So no, no, not at all. You get through that infant stage, you go through the toddler phase, the preschool phase, and like right now we're here in this preschool phase. So it definitely requires a lot of different versions of you, right? So what worked when they were a baby no longer works anymore, right?
Now you're talking about different versions of you. What other versions of you have you discovered that you never had an idea, you didn't know about?
Really, as parents, like, yes, you have responsibility over this little human, and there are, rules and boundaries you have to implement. But between 0 to 5, it's a little challenging sometimes when you're like, trying to rein and force, right? So relinquishing control. I grew up with a mother and grandmother. They're very like, like wash your hands and do this. But I have a son. My firstborn is a son, and he's a boy. So sometimes stepping outside of those, like it's all right, like you know what I mean. Like, hey, they're gonna get dirty, they're gonna get messy, they're gonna get those. Um, they're gonna push limits. Like they're going to push your limits, right? And again, understanding that developmentally as an adult, I understand, like somebody pushing your limits, but they don't. They're gonna try to do it right, and it's up to me to be consistent, and to say, okay, no, that's okay, but no, that's not okay, right? And so those things, right? So being consistent, I would say, being consistent all the time, like habitually and intentional each and every time. Regular, keeping yourself regulated so that you can model for them what regulation looks like and how to manage big emotions, small emotions, kindness, all those things. So yeah, it's exhausting.
But how are you able to balance your role as a mother and as a professional? How are you able to
Great question. I
separate the
mean,
two?
that has changed so much, right? Because for one, I was like in the office, right? So I was working like full time when I first had my son, but I was able to take about 5, 6 months, which is like sacrilegious in New York and New Jersey. But thankfully, shout out to my husband who was very like, we'll take the time that you need to. So I was able to do that. But balancing work, I don't know, it just kind of made it work, right? We had to put systems into place, right? So hypothetically, like finding childcare. So in the beginning, like finding community and support and what that looks like, right? Because even community kind of shifted, right? So community, sometimes people who you thought could kind of be reliable were not reliable, or taking the help where you can, right? But sometimes that support looks different. Maybe I could take this person today, twice a week. Okay, cool. And then connecting with other, family members who have had children in the past. So what other sitters, right? So we were fortunate enough to have like the support of like a friend, and then again my grandmother and my mother, who sometimes like they would juggle between that. So I was able to work. We just kept him close by, and then yeah.
Before you're able to get this flexible schedule, it sounded like it was very stressful. How were you able to manage that stress level? Like, what did you do to ease the stress? How did you go about that?
I don't know. This fun. I don't know. There's something about me, I guess, that in the moment of it, it can be overwhelming, but I can still operate and function. I think. So it's very weird. I don't know. It was uh, having to go drop them, pick them up, and do everything like that. I think just recognizing that it wouldn't be forever. So that's kind of keeping like temporary. I don't think but I feel like I've always managed stress well. And I don't know if this has anything to do with just my profession overall, but like just kind of recognizing like stress is like a very real thing. And you go day to day. But just kind of taking time off from time to time if I needed to. But managing stress, I would say overall, sometimes just a lot of time I used to incorporate meditation. I definitely sometimes wake up early before my kids. So I try to have that like that peace and quiet. Like, so I used to give myself like 15, 20 minutes. So before I needed to like get everybody up and ready and do all that stuff like that, giving myself time to get situated. So I think I started that like when I went back to work.
You sound like a super mom. You make it sound so easy. You make it sound so easy. I'm like, wow. But I'm beginning to realize that I'm beginning to realize it was like a mind thing. You told yourself you could do it, right?
I mean, a lot of it is disciplining it too. I'm not perfect, but yeah, definitely trying to make sure to give yourself that pause in between times. And pauses doesn't mean that I have to go travel and take a week off or do anything like that. But sometimes just 5 to 10 minutes in a day, or sitting down, or give yourself a little extra time. So being intentional, if you want it to be like okay.
So now, do you think there's a difference between you being Jackie and your role as a mother? Are you able to differentiate it, or do you think they cannot be separated?
Definitely separated. Definitely. Like I love being a mom and connecting with my children and making sure that again they're developing well. But no, like my individual personality, there's some elements I would say I take over to it, right? Some strengths that I have, right? My like personality and like energetic wise, like connecting with the kids to have fun, to be free, um, boundaries and things like that. Like yes, I do have that as a mother, but there's sometimes like a total like difference, right? So the patience I have with my children is not the same patience I would have as a director or business owner or things like that. So there are definitely certain things. So different parts that separate them.
Right. Now, if there's a mom who is not sure, who has just become, okay, let's talk about a new mom. If there's, a new mom out there listening, she's not sure how to, navigate through this journey, what would be an advice you'd give to her? Just one advice.
I think the biggest thing I would say, like trust your own intuition sometimes, right? I know as a mental health professional, I understand that, our bodies physically and mentally go through a lot. So even that postpartum phase is a very vulnerable time. I call it the fourth trimester. Um, Learn you and your baby, right? Learn that, right? So you're going to be inundated with information from other moms. Oh, my baby did this. My baby slept this. My baby did this. Like, learn your schedule for you and your baby. What works for other people and what works with other people and other people's babies are different from you and your baby and your dynamic. So trust that.
How would you know if you don't try, if you don't try other things, if you don't give yourself the opportunity to try other options, how are you going to know?
Right. So like truly learning what works for you and your family. You've created this union now. So now that focus, I think zoning in on that, getting the support from other people, but again, not allowing that judgment to cloud, right? Because I think as new moms, people are like, oh no, do this with the baby and do that. And that is also very overwhelming. I think that was also, I think, a major challenge because sometimes there's so much like information out there that's readily accessible. So it's like, oh, do I do this? Oh, do I do this? Oh, do I do this? Right. Okay, well, this person is sleep training at 6 months. And then, okay, my baby's still not sleeping. My son didn't sleep probably through the night till he was like 1.5 or 2, right? And you got some people who say, oh, my baby slept through the night at like 3 months. Okay. But I didn't have that fortune, So I had to kind of, make it work and make adjustments. So I think, do what works for you and your household and your schedule and what aligns with you and your baby and what feels natural rather than trying to force yourself into unnatural spaces that sometimes, be open to things, but like, do what works for you because you're there with the baby most of the time. So you kind of would know the baby's schedule, how the baby responds, what makes them cry, what makes them this, right? So really trusting your instincts, even if it is very vulnerable. And also just trying to reach out to trusted people when you know that maybe I am struggling and I don't even trust myself right now and I'm a little afraid to really reach out. Maybe that's through your partner. Maybe if you are fortunate enough to have a small community around, whether it's your elders, your mother-in-law, whoever, um, have that one or two people that you need, but trusting your instincts and building your schedule in connection with your baby.
Wow. So you think it's important as a mom to have a community of, like a support system?
Hmm. Absolutely. You don't really know what you need postpartum. Again, as your body is going through so many things, you're very much more sensitive. So I had somebody during postpartum, I would say the first maybe 3 to 6 months, like, whether people were coming in. I had a friend of a close friend of ours. She was very instrumental in my postpartum, right? And I think I had just met her maybe like a year or two ago. And she would they would come once a week with the kids and they would just keep me company. She would just fold clothes, take the baby, do whatever, like cleaning and doing stuff like that. And it's hard to even know what it is that you need because there's so many things that needs to be done, right? You got to clean up, but you're breastfeeding or you're pumping or you're doing this. Okay, you got to, do whatever. But just that 1 or 2 hours a week was like so helpful. So yeah, so that community is like really needed. Like, I think, like I said, first 3 to 6 months is so vital. So yes, community, community, community.
Yeah. I think I have learned. I wish you could go on and on and on. But Jackie, we should do this again. Now, your final words, if there's a new mom, or even a mom who is not sure how to go about this motherhood journey, what would be your final words to them?
Motherhood is beautiful chaos.
I love that.
Motherhood is chaos. And as I say, like as a mental health professional, I think, I know clients seek me out in general, right? But I think I learn a lot from them as well. So I think in the journey of motherhood, you learn a lot about your body as you are developing a life inside of you. You learn a lot how your body is strong. And when they say women are superheroes, we really are, because the lives that we create, just how much the nurturing nature just kind of kicks in. It's kind of like a weird thing. And it's like you change. And that when you step into this role, like it is one that you truly have to venture in to understand when you see moms kind of talking the way they do and they may be complaining or they say something like that, allow them, hear them, receive them, don't stop it, right? So I think I would say like what you are evolving to become is greater than you will ever understand, but just take it day by day.
Wow, Jackie, this is beautiful. Thank you. I am so encouraged right now. I have learned so much, and I'm sure this will inspire a lot of other moms. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Let's do this again. We definitely have to do this again.
We can definitely have a part two.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.